everybody doing? Hope you're all doing well. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm not going to be doing a review. I'm going to kind of do a beginner's breakdown of different terminology and devices that are available in the market today. If you're just getting into vaping and transitioning away from smoking, it can sometimes be pretty overwhelming with the amount of information, the amount of devices and so forth that are out there, and it's like, man, I want to get away from cigarettes, but where do I go? Now, this isn't an end-all be-all list by any means, but it'll kind of break down some things and hopefully give you a little bit more understanding of some of the way it works for others that might work in your situation. You've got pod systems, you've got sub-ohm tanks, RDAs, RTAs, mouth-to-lung, direct-lung. I mean, there's so many different little acronyms or whatnot that are out there. So I'll go through a little bit of it with you, and hopefully you'll come out at the end of the video with a better understanding. The first thing we'll start off with is pod systems. Pod systems can be open systems or closed. And basically what that means is the pod that you purchase, or the device you purchase. For example, I've got a Kaale here. Okay, this is considered an open pod system. Comes with a battery and a pod and usually a charging cable or something to charge it with. This one, you can open this pod up here and add your own e-liquid into it. A closed system would be you purchase that and the pod already comes pre-filled with whatever milligrams you're wanting, and the flavorings or whatnot, that's already included, so you don't have your choice to add your own. So that's open versus closed in a pod system. It usually works well for people transitioning away from cigarettes because it kind of has the feel for it in your hand. It has a little bit of the draw that's similar to a cigarette. Not a huge cloud of vapor or anything to that effect. So I've noticed a lot of people do pretty well when transitioning away. The next one would be another pod system. Would be something like the Aegis Boost. I've seen a ton of these. They're pretty popular, at least around where I live. People that are transitioning away from cigarettes, they want something a little different, and maybe a regular stick pod style system like the Kaale doesn't work for them. So they go with one of these. Has a removable pod, and it comes with, you can replace the coils in them and leave the outside casing of the pod itself, reuse that, and you take the coil out, put a new one in, and it comes with your battery setup. It's a little bigger, a little more bulky, but it does have an adjustable power setting here, so you can adjust your wattage up and down, and it has a fire button. I guess it's all just a personal preference, but to me it's still just a regular pod system. It does have adjustable airflow on this one, and it has a little bit more vapor production. The next step from that point would be a sub-ohm tank. So you could have a device, usually a box mod, single battery, dual battery type of device that has external batteries you can replace and charge away from the system, or you have a USB, you can plug it into it and charge it that way. This would be considered a box mod, dual battery, 18650. We'll get into that later. But you can put a sub-ohm tank on it. And basically, a sub-ohm tank is just a step up from a pod system. It has a replaceable coil setup in here that once it goes bad or starts tasting funky or whatever the case may be, you can replace that. You keep all the external components, and it goes, it works from there. The thing that's nice about those, a lot of starter kits would have a sub-ohm tank with it, plus a box mod, so you can take this top piece, the atomizer, off and replace it with a different style, so you're not stuck. With a pod system, you're kind of stuck with what it has, so you can replace the coils, but if you want to move on to something else, you're going to have to buy a new setup. Sub-ohm tanks are pretty nice. They're reliable. I haven't had too many issues with the ones I've had. I've had some that have sucked, and it's just kind of personal preference on what's going to work for you. a little bit more vapor production. I'd say the flavor does step up, in my opinion, from your pod style systems with the sub-ohm tank. And there's a huge variety of them. The next step would be a RDA, which stands for Rebuildable Dripping Atomizer. Now, what that entails is you're putting your own coils in there, whether you purchase them from a store or online, or you build them yourself. It usually doesn't have too much of a juice capacity to it unless there's a little juice well from where you connect your coils to them and add cotton yourself. But at this point they have the best flavor because there's really not a whole lot of space. This here is the Turk V2 RDA, and there's, you know, you can tell it's a lot smaller than a sub-ohm tank or whatnot. If I take the top cap off, kind of give you a little bit better idea. This one here has a couple clamps set up for it. You can see the coil here and cotton drape through the coil. So that is a rebuildable dripping atomizer. Basically, you'd have it on your device and you want to add e-liquid to it if it starts getting dry, if the cotton gets dry or whatnot. Let's say you're just vaping along here. Cotton gets dry, you would just drip your e-liquid onto it and continue on. A little more finicky, but hobbyists really enjoy them, and they produce an extravagant amount of flavor in comparison to sub-ohm tanks and your pod systems. You also go, the next step would be using a RTA, which is a rebuildable tank atomizer. Basically, it takes the best of both worlds. You get the tank, like a sub-ohm tank, where you have a juice capacity, as well as the coils that you put in your own pre-made or pre-manufactured, or you make them yourself, your own coils. So they look like this here. This is let's see, this is Mike Vape's Rebirth RTA. They look very similar. If you were to look at the two of these side by side and not know the difference, you wouldn't know that you build your own coils here. You can see they're a little bit smaller in size, but capacity wise you still get quite a bit of e-liquid out of it. Okay, a couple other things I want to add to the list. Batteries. Some of these have internal batteries that you would use a USB or, you know, micro USB or a USB-C to charge them. Excuse all the vapor. Or you would have something that would have external batteries. Like the Argus GT here, pop these out. You've got dual 18650 batteries on this. Always, if you have one of these devices, I recommend highly that you get a external battery charger. They're cheap, they're easy to maintain, and they're a lot safer than just plugging this thing in to its USB or whatnot overnight and just letting it charge. I've got a couple on my desk here that, you know, like I said, 20 bucks, 30 bucks, something like that. They're not too terribly bad, but you have 18650 batteries, which are the predominant size that they would use, and 2700s and 21700s. The numbers, the 18, 20, and 21, that is the diameter of the battery, how wide it is. So 18 millimeter, 20, 21, respectively. And then you have 650, so the 18, 650, 650 is the length of the battery itself. And then dominant batteries that we use in the industry. Make sure the battery wraps are nice and clean with no tears, no scratches, no dents. If you're using two batteries in the device, make sure that they are married together, meaning that you bought them at the same time, you charge them at the same time, you use them in the same device. So if you have a single battery device, I wouldn't split those two batteries apart and do it that way. You know, if you start with two, you end with those two, and so forth. Shelf life, things like that, I don't know. There are other people on YouTube that you can definitely get that information from. Check out Battery Mooch or whatnot. Highly recommend that if you're looking to get more in-depth into batteries, how they function, things of that nature. You need to know your Ohm's law if you're building your own coils. You need to know the power of the battery, what it can handle. And like I said, there's a lot of people out there that can teach you those things, but if you don't know or are not familiar with Ohm's law and things of that nature, I would suggest going and getting a regulated device. Example, an Argus or whatnot, something that has a chip inside of it that helps regulate the usage of your batteries. It's not going to let you fire your atomizer if the batteries are too low. It's not going to let you fire the atomizer if the resistance of the coils you have in there is too low. Things of that nature work well on a regulated device, meaning it has a chip in it. If you have something like the Bogan, I have a mechanical mod here. This has no safety chip in it. It's the battery power, the power within the battery versus the coils on here, and that's it. So you have to pay attention to make sure you're building correctly, or you're having someone build correctly for you if you venture into this. As far as beginners, I definitely don't recommend doing this unless you already have a vast understanding of Ohm's law, battery safety, etc. Another term that's getting used quite a bit lately is direct lung versus mouth to lung. Direct lung means you're inhaling the vapor directly to your lungs, self-explanatory. Mouth to lung is more like a draw of a cigarette, where you would inhale into your mouth, then inhale it into your lungs and exhale from that point. So those are the two different things that you might have seen on boxes where it says DL or MTL, or if you hear people talk like that, that's what that means. And you have sub-ohm tanks, you have drippers, you have RDAs and so forth. They're set up that way. So pay attention to what you're looking for and ask around. Hit me up. I can answer what questions you might have, or try to the best I can, or do your own searching and your own education and make sure you understand what you're getting into. Coils. That would be another thing. Building your own coils. There's single coils. There's dual coils. They're doing mesh as well. A lot of the new sub-ohm tanks, they're pre-made coils or mesh related, where it's a mesh of metal surrounded by the cotton. The saturated metal heats up and evaporates the liquid out of the cotton. That's kind of how that goes. Different types of metals within those: Canthal, nichrome, stainless steel, etc. There's a few different things in that aspect too. So I'm probably overwhelming you with the amount of terminology and stuff that's out there, but hit me up, and I'll do what I can to help you out, and we'll help educate each other. Let's see what else. I think that's it. Like I said, I'll have some more reviews coming up. If you like this video, give me a heads up, give me a like, subscribe down below. Let's get the conversation going with some comments, and we'll talk back and forth, and I'll see you on the next one. Alright? Till then, take care, guys.